What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here today for another deck profile, and this time it's for Infinitrack. I guess, can you say Infinitrack? It's really just Earth Toolbox is the way to go. It's Dozer control. That's pretty much the way it is. You're just gonna use Dozer. You're gonna control. It's a lot of Earths. It's a lot of machines, and that's pretty much it. Before we do get started for this one, though, as always, please do remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we're always happy to have new people to the channel. And yeah, the reason why I've decided to go for this, I've had it sitting around here for a while. It came in as a part of a collection that I picked up, and I just like completely thrown it by the wayside. And then at YCS, I played against this, and I thought it was really interesting. Then one of our guys at locals has picked it up, and he started messing around with it in our online locals. So I've really decided to take a look at it. I've thrown together a list. On online testing, I'm quite enjoying it actually. It seems to just be, you just keep going. Unless they know to interrupt your dozer, you just kind of keep going, and it's very fun. But let's get into the profile. Before we do get started on this one, though, it is brought to you, of course, by yourplaymat.com, who got us our beautiful NolanTCG Extra Deck sleeves. These are available on yourplaymat.com, as well as you can get custom sleeves and custom playmats, so whatever you need for the current format. There is an affiliate link in the description down below that does get you a little bit of a discount on your order. Also, enter the code NOLAN10YP for 10% off your order. Also kicks back a little bit to the channel, so everything will be very much appreciated. If you're shopping there, you're getting custom sleeves, custom playmats down. Make sure to enter our code at checkout. But let's get on into this deck. Okay, starting us out for the deck, we start off with, of course, 3 copies of Infinitrack Harvester. Just your standard rotor for the deck, so on normal or special, add an Infinitrack from deck to hand. Then we have our Dozer. So Dozer is going to special from deck. Key thing is that Dozer can tribute an Earth machine on board to summon itself. Then it can special summon one Infinitrack from deck. It is negated, so do keep that in mind. But that doesn't really matter, because you are going to summon it from grave with Trencher most of the time. Because again, Trencher can summon from hand for free. Not for free, it does have to tribute the Earth Machine like all the other ones. And then you can banish it from grave to summon back a level 5 or lower. Typically, you are going to then have access to Anchor Drill, so Anchor Drill is going to get you the extension from hand. And then you're going to have Tunneler as well, so Tunneler is your Avarice. So from grave, banish it out, shuffle 5 back, draw 2. It tries to get you into what you ultimately want to be in your end board, because some of the things that you want to have on your end board aren't exactly searchable in the most easiest ways, so you do want to have ways to get to those certain things. Then we get into our Machina package after that, or Machina, however you're supposed to say it. Correct me on how I'm supposed to say it. It always causes controversy whenever I say that. So starting us off, we've got 3 copies of Metal Cruncher. This is your other typical normal summon for the deck. Yes, it is a level 8/9. But yeah, it can just be normal summoned. It reduces its level and its attack. Or reduces its attack. Doesn't reduce its level. That's a thing. Then you reveal 3 Earths from deck. Get that random search. Your opponent doesn't get to look at the card, but you add. Then we have 2 copies of Fortress. 2 copies of Fortress isn't necessary. You can switch this between this and Dairy Crane. Dairy Crane's more of a generic extender. Fortress, though, gets cards out of your hand into grave if you don't necessarily want them to be there. Typically, Citadel is something that you don't want to have in hand on your end board, so you kind of want to have that in grave. Of course, that is the next card, though. It is 1 copy of Machina Citadel. This is your Dark Hole. So you're going to be trying to slap this back onto board every turn on your opponent's turn, and then you blow everything on the board that's lower than one of your monster's attacks. Then, for our generic Earths, we're playing 1 copy of Dairy Crane. Again, you can switch the Fortress for this if you do want to do that. Of course, you can't just cut the Fortress altogether and switch it for a hand trap. That's always an option. Then we have 1 Bullet Train, and then we have 1 Ancient Gearbox. So Ancient Gearbox is what you're going to be searching off the Ancient Gear link. And then because it's added from deck to hand, you can add one with 500 attack or defense from your deck. That is like a lot of your Infinitrack engine. Then last off for the monsters, this isn't an engine piece. It's a generic hand trap. It's Ash Blossom. You can always switch this for anything that you will necessarily need at your locals. Then getting into our spell lineup, we have a lot of searches in here. So starting us off, we have 3 copies of Heavy Deployment. You're just playing this stuff for as consistent as a build as possible. Adds the Infinitrack from deck to hand. Then we're playing 3 copies of Machina Redeployment, or Machina Redeployment. Again, correct me on how I'm supposed to say that. That, of course, searches your Machina cards, or your Machina cards. Then we get into Urgent Schedule. So Urgent Schedule is going to special summon on the opponent's turn. Then, they can special summon on your turn if you're going second. That's always an option. You just typically want to have, your opponent has to have more monsters than you do. Which is good. It's a quick play. Good card. Then we get into our trap lineup. So I am playing more of a versatile trap lineup for this because I want this to be pretty much Dozer control as much as possible. We want to control what our opponent's doing. For that, we're going to need 3 copies of Overdrive. I'm not going to bother saying the first word because I'm going to say it wrong in someone's book. But yeah, 3 copies of Overdrive. This will get you your Citadel if you haven't already gotten access to your Citadel. Then we have 3 copies of Trap Trick, because all of these traps that we're playing are able to be accessed by the Trap Trick. So it is kind of necessary for that consistency reason again. Then we have 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Of course, it's a negation that you can use for your turn going second, or your opponent's turn going second. And of course, going first, you can always set it. And it's searchable from Trap Trick as well. And then the last card, this is again just versatile stuff you can switch out for anything. 2 copies of Compulse. I just feel at the moment, the current format, a lot of decks rely on that normal summon sticking on board. So if you can remove it with something with like Compulse, it's always a good time. Okay, next off we have our extra deck, and of course we have Mr. Guy who gets cycled constantly. That is 3 copies of Infinitrack Goliath. You don't really care about having this thing on your board, you just want to be using it to fill your graveyard as much as possible so that you can Avarice back. Then we have the card you typically want to have on your end board. That's 2 copies of Double-Headed Anger Knuckler. Yeah, overall, you want to condense into this on your end board so that you can do more on your opponent's turn. You have the Ballista that you're going to use as a transitional piece. This will get you to your Ancient Gearbox. That will get you more searches. And then lastly, for the links, I'm playing 1 copy of Megaclops. It is not the easiest thing to make in this deck. I'll probably recommend switching it for something like the BLS link. The BLS link effectively is the same kind of threat to a lot of decks, especially because a lot of these stuff's going to have big attack and you're going into the BLS link and making that really, really tough to get over. But yeah, the Megaclops is just essentially the same thing, but not as easy to make in this build. Then we get into our Xyz lineup, and I've put it kind of back to front, but we're going to start off with our train package. So we've got 1 Gustav, 1 Dora, 1 Lieb. This is just your burn, your big damage boys. Dora is not super necessary, but it's a train card, and train cards are cool. Then we go into our Infinitrack Xyzes, so we're playing 1 copy of River Stormer and 1 copy of Earth Slicer. Then for our other generic Xyz, we're playing 1 copy of Dingirsu for those follow-up turns, and 1 copy of Enter Blathnir for ripping out some cards from the opponent's hand. And then last but not least, because we're playing a lot of Xyz cards, and Xyz says I can Zeus you now, we're playing 1 copy of Zeus. Again, it's machine. Keep in mind that Earth, you can get locked from Earth, so like Dark, Wind, Light can kind of conflict at times, so just keep that in mind when you're playing the deck. But that wraps us up here for the deck profile for this one. So as always, if you do have any recommendations or things you would change, do make sure to comment them down below. Keep an eye out for the Quarantine Cup series. It's going to be starting back up with us going into lockdown here. We're going to be getting more into that and making it more apparent that it's running. Of course, it is going to be brought to you by Nikijo Collectibles. Do head over there. Check it out. Nolan5 at checkout will get you 5% off your order. But, of course, that wraps us up here. And have a good afternoon, everybody.